Welcome to NCCI's Insights Video Edition.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of NCCI's Insights Video Edition. I'm Sheila Fordson. Joining us today is Laura Kersey, NCCI's Division Executive of Regulatory and Legislative Analysis. Kersey will be discussing NCCI's latest report, 2021 Legislative Trends, Top Issues to Watch.
COVID-19 continues to be the hot topic again this year. We are seeing some new trends with the 2021 COVID-19 legislation. One of those trends is the types of workers that are covered by the legislation. Last year, many of the bills that we monitored focused on establishing workers' compensation presumptions for COVID-19 that were applicable primarily to first responders and healthcare workers. This year, several of the legislative proposals established presumptions for additional categories of workers like teachers and school employees. A couple of states have legislation that's specific to nurses, and some states have proposed presumption legislation that's applicable to all employees in the state. Another new trend is legislation to create presumptions that go beyond the current COVID-19 pandemic. We've seen at least a dozen states with bills that establish presumptions for infectious diseases and pandemics. Some of these bills mention COVID-19, but they also contain terms like contagious disease, COVID-19 or similar disease, or other future qualifying pandemic. And many of these proposals don't have expiration dates. We've also seen legislation this year addressing the impact of COVID-19 on the workers' compensation exclusive remedy, either proposing an exception to the exclusive remedy or providing that workers' compensation is the exclusive remedy for COVID-19 claims.
And the report includes additional highlights. Let's touch on each of those briefly, if we could. The first one being workers' compensation for workplace-related mental injuries.
At the time the article was published in March, we were tracking 40 bills addressing workers' compensation for workplace-related mental injuries. That number included over 30 bills that related to post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. Now, about a month later, we're tracking over 60 bills addressing workers' comp for mental injuries, and over 40 of them relate to PTSD. This issue has been a hot topic in recent years, and it continues to be a hot topic in 2021.
And how about the legalization of marijuana? What's the latest there?
Several states are considering legislation to legalize marijuana in some form this year. Since the article was published, 3 states, New York, New Mexico, and Virginia, have passed legislation to legalize the recreational use of marijuana. Also, states continue to debate how to address reimbursement for medical marijuana and workers' compensation. Some legislative proposals require reimbursement, while others provide that reimbursement is not required for workers' comp. At this time, marijuana is still illegal at the federal level, so it will be interesting to see what the new Congress may do on this topic.
And another item on the list is the latest on independent contractors and the gig economy. What can you share there?
Every year we see a lot of bills proposing to address the issue of whether a worker is an employee or an independent contractor. Some of the bills propose new state tests for determining worker status, and some are specific to gig workers. For example, Utah passed a bill this year that creates the Remote Service Marketplace Platforms Act, which addresses remote services work that's done exclusively through a digital app.
And we also have single payer health insurance programs. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. We're tracking legislation in over a dozen states that would either establish a single payer health insurance program in the state or would study the issue. These proposals generally provide for universal coverage of healthcare costs, and the question is whether these proposals encompass workers' compensation medical benefits. In several states this year, the legislation specifically includes workers' compensation or injured workers' medical benefits. And on the federal side, since the article was published in March, Congress has introduced the Medicare for All Act of 2021, which proposes a national insurance program to provide universal health care coverage. And that proposal includes provisions addressing the treatment of workers' compensation medical costs.
Laura, thanks so much for joining us. Very insightful information. The full detailed report is online at ncci.com in the Insights portal. Is there anything additional you'd like to share with us today?
Well, this summer, we'll release our annual Regulatory and Legislative Trends Report, which will include updates on all of these hot topics and other legislative developments impacting workers' compensation. We released the report in the summer to align with the legislative cycle, since the state legislative sessions generally run from January through June. And in addition to the legislative information, the report contains noteworthy court cases, information about law-only filings, actuarial information by region, and other important resources. So please keep an eye out for our comprehensive report that's coming soon.
Thanks again for joining us for another episode of NCCI's Insights Video Edition. Be sure to subscribe here to channel NCCI on YouTube, click the notification bell for real-time video updates, and follow us on Twitter at NCCI. There is still time to register for our biggest event of the year. NCCI's 2021 Annual Issues Symposium is taking place virtually, May 11th through the 12th. Register online at ncci.com/AIS. I'm Sheila Fordson. Be sure to join us next time when we discuss the issues at the top of the workers' comp agenda from the source you trust.